All right, y'all. I took about I took most of this week. Today's Friday. I took most of this week off of um, creating content, recording, and I just kind of want to send it today and just speak into what I'm seeing, what I'm learning, the things I'm processing, what's coming up. But it's just interesting. So I've recently started to um, not put myself out there more, but I'm opening myself up to um, things like dating and things like, hanging out, doing stuff that's like maybe outside of like just being full on disciplined. Like that's been the vibe this year is for me has been all out discipline, all out grind, all out, all in, just go. And that's been super good. But like for example, so yesterday I went to a comedy show. Went to a comedy show. It was a date, so um, it's just good. It's just interesting, man, because I'm reaching this point in my life where you know, I, I've learned that you can't be so attached to the way you do things that um, you can't have flexibility. Like if you're too rigid, like if I was like, man, I didn't go to blah blah blah. Like this morning, usually I would have gone to the gym at 5:15. Like that's my routine. 5:15 in the morning, 3 to 5 times a week, um, getting after it, and then some weights in there too. And this week fitness has been good. I will say, I've gymmed quite a bit this week. We did 2 weightlifting sessions, I believe, and then um, yeah, I've been hella consistent actually this week. I think at times I'm too a little bit too strong on the accountability. But what I'm saying is it's just interesting how life goes to where for me at least, I have to learn to be okay with like just how things go and like being flexible with how my life flows and how things have kind of opened up. Man, even this past, well, like I said, this past week, like challenging myself to do things a little bit differently and maybe be a little bit more relaxed on some of my disciplines. But it's not bad, and I think that's the piece here that I'm seeing is that if your momentum in life in a like 99 percentile direction of you're hustling, you're getting after it, um, you're winning like across the board, diet, nutrition, business, all that. If it's all going and it's all in a really succinct, um, it's kind of like the car analogy, right? If you're or an airplane, right? If that thing is going, like a little bit of misdirection or a little bit of change in whatever, it's not gonna like stop the whole ship. So all this to say, like integrating some things that I enjoy, like having a woman in my life or staying out late one night, going to a comedy show. And it's interesting, right? Because for me, like that's my version of getting off my routine. it's, go- it's going to a comedy show. Like other people might be like they're staying out drinking. Like for me, like I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't fuck around really. I don't do hookup culture. I don't really do anything that is gonna fuck my life up. So my version of like cutting loose or having fun is going to a comedy show on a date. Like, so I'll take that. I'll be I'll be happy with that. I'll take that. But all this to say is like the grind doesn't stop, and like the the momentum towards your goals never stops. But for me, it's in making the processes enjoyable. Like making the process enjoyable. Like for me, it shouldn't always be this crazy fucking stress. And it's really like what I'm seeing is like it's actually really helpful to have things that mitigate that stress and like make you enjoy the process more, right? And for me, one of those things definitely um is like, the company of a girl I like, or laughing. Like this fucking I can't believe it, man. This comedy show, like I sat front and center. So we walk in, we're a little bit late, sit down right in the middle, like me and her. We are like front row center. Boom. Like the headlight is going over my head, like it's casting a shadow on the comics. So literally like 2 minutes in, like the guy's like asking me like, dude, are you a pedophile? Well, but I'm just like, what the fuck? And the whole time, like, it felt like just all the comedians were like engaging with me, and I was like, okay, okay, this is what this is. But anyway, the banter's fun. Like I'm here for the back and forth, but it's like it's just the spontaneousness of it, and I like it. I'm very extroverted, so all that's good. Like I woke up today, like I let myself sleep in a little bit, right? And there's a lot of, I think, toxic hustle culture is like, man, you got to do it every fucking day, and there's truth in the validity to like being consistent is important, and being on your grind is important. But I also believe that, man, seeing like patting yourself on the back and like allowing yourself to enjoy life and allowing yourself to have fun with it, and seeing that there's a real spiritual element to listening to yourself. Like I knew last night that like, man, that would be good for me. Like doing that shit would really be good for me and my like just my headspace. Like I feel like I said, so much of this year has been like, how can I fucking push it? How can I get up at 5 a.m.? How can I fucking do this within my business? How can I like I'm on the date like I've been on like a dating fast since, you know, last 6 months. Last October I haven't been dating at all. And that's been a intentional process for me to like get dialed. And it's not like that's over, that it's bad, or like, I've learned that like not being too attached to like things that are restrictive, and I feel like some people are like, man, like you don't need a cheat meal on your diet, or like you don't need, some dudes are like, man, like you don't need girls and all that blah blah blah, and I'm like, nah, man, like that shit, like I like that stuff. So like I like a cheat meal. I like, I said, I like the company of a girl who like fills my cup and makes me feel great about myself. It's something I really value and miss about miss not miss, but like in the past I've had serious girlfriends who have like really helped me on my path, and like really made me feel like there's just something that, for me at least, a woman can like get the best out of me in ways that like I can't dig within myself enough to get that level of like effort and presence. But like if I have, and I should, right? And I feel like that's something to where maybe that's, something that I could work on. I just mean that like I think that I feel like every man has a girl who can get his best out of him, right? And that's just how we're wired. And I think that's a beautiful thing, right? If if we're not made to be these autonomous beings that are like solo, like, blah blah blah, but like, so anyway, I feel like I've had this serious girlfriends, and I really feel like I've gotten just the best that's ever come out of me is in um it's been when I've had like a girl in my life that I've like, was gassing me up, was cooking for me, was, filling my cup, right? Filling my cup, so when I go out and I face the world, that I feel really good about myself, right? I feel really validated. I feel like the effort that I'm putting in is being it's just a beautiful thing when you have that in your life, and that's what I'm getting a taste of, this past week, and I feels great. Like I feel like I'm able to look at my life and my goals and the things that I'm doing, and be have like a deeper appreciation for it, and have a deeper almost like a calmness. I know for me at least, like y'all have seen me talk long form. I can just go and I can rant, and I'm already at like crackhead energy, like just drinking caffeine. Like I feel like I'm very high on life as it is. So things that ramp up my serotonin and my oxytocin, and it gets my brain chemistry off of like dopamine, and it gets more into this like, I feel really content with myself. Like I feel allows me to like come back into the present. So all this to say, for me, going into March, it's February 28th, 2025, and going into March, I'm going to be really curious about, what does this mean to, have a girl in my life that I'm really fired up about, and how does it affect my goals? How does it affect my approach? How does it affect the way I'm moving in life? And you know, I'm sure it's always a net benefit, I think, when we invest into something that fills our cup. And for me, that's what I really love and I'm curious about is um, bringing in more people and places and things around me that fill me and that make me feel good and feel validated. And those are good, real parts of this human experience, I feel. And I feel like some people they don't they don't see it that way. And I feel like on both ends of the poles of people who argue about these things, I think life is gray. And y'all know that I speak into that a lot. I don't feel like it's gray. I don't feel like um, spirituality is gray. Life is gray. Like we live in this black and white culture, but in reality, our human experience is very gray, and like the way that we learn to value the things around us, and the way that we learn to like be in this life. And for me, it's so much of it is yes, getting to where I want to go, but also learning to like love that process and have a life that, and this is like a quote, but it's like have a life that you can't wait to wake up to. And that's what I feel like I've been cultivating as of late is like um this real like appreciation for the things around me and what I have in my life and where my life is going and what's happening, and just it just feels it feels great. And I'll I'll continue to lean into that which supports me and fills my cup, because I feel like innately everyone deserves love, but also everyone deserves, seasons and periods of like isolation and looking into yourself and being like, what's working, what's not working, and digging into that dark piece of yourself that's going to allow you to move forward in a really powerful way. But it all ebbs and flows, right? No season is permanent. No time period is permanent in your life. Everything ebbs and it flows, and that's just the nature of the life that we live. And I feel like when we can learn to appreciate it more, and when we can learn to um, be more present with what's around us and learn to value these things, and that's one thing I've been processing, is realizing, I think a lot of last year I had this perception around dating and this perception around, why am I attracting this certain type of woman? Or, I would attract a lot of girls who, last year, who wanted to have fun with me, but they didn't want to like commit. Like they just wanted to more, they were about that, like, let's go on a date and drink and they're hook up or like whatever, but they weren't the quality of woman that I want. They weren't up to the standard of which I live my life and that I want, the type of woman I want to bring into my life and integrate into my life and partner with. And eventually one day, like, have a life with. And that's I think a good challenge here for me is to look at what has been good, or like what did I learn from that period? And as I enter into a new period of dating and of opening myself up to receive from a girl, and I feel like that's the piece too. I feel like our inputs determine our outputs in life, meaning like the food we eat, the people we surround ourselves with, the things that we do, life as a whole really is about what we like the media we consume. It's about what we like pour into ourselves, then results in the output and the results that we do. And I feel like for me at least, I notice a really stark correlation between that comes from people for me. Like I'm very extroverted, so I have a very when I'm with people, I do a high level of like engage and receive, engage, receive, engage, receive, and it's like this you're like kind of bouncing off of each other, and that very much so applies to like pretty much all areas of my life with the people in my life. We be it through work, be it through friendship, and be it through the woman in my life. And that being said, I want to make sure it's the right um, anyway, making sure, like maybe that's an attachment to control, but like you just want to be cognizant that what's being poured into you or like the energy that you're receiving is something that fills you. And I can say with confidence, the people and the friends and the places in my life currently, they absolutely fill me and they absolutely give me that sense of peace and that sense of gratitude and that sense of like restorative quality. And that's something I really much so value and want in the woman in my life is like I want to make sure that like I'm out there doing what I need to do, grinding, hustling, achieving like that, and that's the main focus. And then when I'm with my girl and I leave from that, like I feel great and I feel like man, like my cup is filled. And that's what I feel like is a beautiful part of relationship. And that's not the function of all relationship. Like for me, like with my guy friends, like I want to be challenged. I want to be pushed. I want to be like kept accountable. There's a function to each relationship. But for me specifically with the woman in my life, I want that to be a relationship that's really restorative for me and like I feel a lot of peace around and like I can kind of relax in that space. And it's interesting as I think back like, 2, 3 years ago or even like in college, the types of women in my life didn't bring me peace. And I think that was a function of the fact that I didn't drink back or like I drank back then and like those dynamics were just kind of fueled, I think, off of things that were more superficial. And now I'm like really cognizant of I really only want top tier women in my life, be that in friendship or relationship. That's the only thing I'm going to tolerate. It's the only thing that I'll allow because I don't feel like, for me, I don't have time and I don't have like, this life is short. This life will be over in a blink of an eye. And I think the quality of your intimate partner is something that you should consider and you should really feel into and reflect on and say, is this right for me? So these are just things that I'm thinking about reflecting on. And um, all this to say, I feel like while the discipline and the consistency of action is important, I feel like it's more important to nail direction and to nail where you're going and then be less rigid about how you get there, right? So as long as I know I'm moving in the right direction, I don't, there's no, for me at least, it's not about like how anal can I be about the structure of my day or my week or my month, but more so am I doing the inputs? Am I hitting the markers? Am I making the certain amounts of goals that I want to do to get me to where I'm going? These are just interesting reflections that I've had last week. And I know that I haven't made as much content this week at least because I feel like I've been really just been going for it, which is great. But yeah, anyway, so and I feel like that's what I'll title this video is direction beats rigidity. In that, in goal achievement and life direction, be open to different inputs, be open to things that fill your cup, be open to not being so rigid on the things that you feel like you have to do, but open yourself up to what's possible with other people, and with what could happen, right? Because I feel like in the land of possibility and in the land of what's possible past what you feel like you kind of have to do, that's where you thrive, right? In that, like, I feel like we get so consumed with this, the day to day, the blah blah blah, the blah blah blah, like the nitty gritty, that we don't see like what's on the horizon, what's coming, what is what are we planning for long term, and how are we going to get there, and what at the end of the day matters the most. So these are just reflections to think about. So it's all good stuff, and I will talk to you soon.